We ready?
We're ready.
All right, guys. Welcome to today's Warrior, episode number 5. Today we're gonna go over a lot of stuff, talking about combative martial arts, sport martial arts, traditional martial arts, and the importance of incorporating strength training with your martial arts. And today we have our special guest star, Vlad. Vlad, I have to pronounce your last name for me.
Koulikov.
Welcome, Vlad.
Koulikov.
For you guys who don't know Vlad, just Google him, and you're gonna see some awesome warrior stuff from Vlad, from combat Sambo to Jiu-Jitsu to nasty leg locks and just everything cool in between. So we're very happy to have Vlad here joining us today, and I'm very excited about it myself personally. I've been wanting to meet you and talk to you for a very long time.
Thank you for the invite and nice finally meeting you.
Of course. So,
and where's your school?
I don't actually own any schools. I teach for Solo Fighters in Brewster. I teach for Evolution Grappling Academy, which is another affiliate of Solo Fighters in Beacon, New York. And I also teach no-gi program, Sambo-based submission no-gi program, in Suffolk, New York. It's in Rockland County.
Cool.
Awesome.
So before we get started, Vlad, I've always wanted to know, and I was kind of saving this question, can you give us a little bit of a history about yourself and how you got involved in martial arts? And I heard earlier you said you're from Moscow and obviously Russia. And you know what, kind of just a little background about how you got started and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Got you. Well, anyway, my first hero, like for many boys, was my dad. My dad boxed, wrestled, and he was into power promotion. In other words, he was like breaking horseshoes, wrapping 10-penny nails around your fingers, ripping chains, which I all witnessed, which was pretty intense. Like he'll wrap a chain.
Justin loves that stuff.
Yes, around his chest when he's relaxed, and then he'll flex, and the thing will pop.
So cool.
So to a degree, I actually never became that big and that strong. Like he'd be asked for autographs on the beach. He was quite built and strong or whatnot. Master of sport in Giri sport and lifting,
Giri being kettlebells.
Giri being a kettlebell, sorry about that, yes. So anyway, like I always looked up to my dad, and I grew up in the 70s and 80s in Russia. So
how old are you now?
I'm 41 right now. So although we sent first cosmonaut in space, but as far as like service industry, we're like severely lag behind. Like I had one black and white TV that I had to change channels, and we had like 3 channels of
I grew up that way too.
And that was awesome. I never played
You're
a
like 80.
single video game in my life. So like I was always like prompt to be active. I was an avid reader. Like all Russians actually, it's a very educated and well-read nation. So all I did was reading and training. So I had this predisposition. My cousin, who was in technical school, he's actually from Moldova, which is a former Soviet republic. He was stationed in Moscow studying some trade, and I was little. I used to go to his gym, and there was really, no actual training because it was his peers, his age. I was 8 at the time, and he was 17 or 18. But I was absolutely mesmerized by the stuff they were doing, and they were like one of the original mixed martial artists because they would do combat Sambo, they grapple, kickbox, karate, they will do everything. So my first introduction to martial arts was having piggyback rides on my cousin's back, which I absolutely love. And eventually said, yo, listen, once you go to a gym, which is like literally 2 blocks away from you, and little did I know that one of the best Sambo academies in the world, and in my eyes, it's the best. It's certainly most prestigious, and one of the better ones was Sambo 70. Sambo 70 as in year of foundation. Okay. The gym was founded in 1970. So I went there, took my first lesson, and fell in love immediately, and never looked back.
Wow. So how many years has that been and now doing Sambo?
I started in '84. So over 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yes. Well, it's Sambo, I received my most rigorous, intense, and legit training I received in Sambo as far as being a student. And of course, I still train it by myself.
Sure.
And then, kickboxing, boxing, Jiu-Jitsu, submission, grappling, judo came, karate, taekwondo along the way.
Along the way, yeah.
Yes.
So now help me understand. So I think I understand. I'm gonna say it right. There are like 2 different versions of Sambo. One would be more of the grappling based, just kind of almost like judo-esque, wrestling-esque, more like Greco-Roman with the gi, if I'm kind of saying that right. Yeah. And the other one would be more of the combative combat Sambo, which, Fedor Emelianenko, Aleksandr Emelianenko were kind of known for. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct. There's even like I can divide it into even a couple more branches. So there is international sports sambo or sambo wrestling, which is like judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling combined. So to
Okay.
speak.
Yep.
You're not allowed to do chokes, believe it or not, and no heel hooks either, which is a huge,
Really?
yeah, huge.
I thought
huge-
Sambo was known for
Huge
foot locks.
misconception.
Yeah.
It is known for foot locks, ankle locks, but there is no twist and leg locks. There is combat sambo, sport combat sambo, which is rules are identical to sports sambo, only there is more techniques allowed, such you can strike.
Yeah.
But the scoring is the same, and it's governed by the same association, FIAS, or organization, if you will. And like rule set is the same, scoring rather is the same, but the rule set is slightly different. You can strike, and there's other couple of minor differences. Then there is military combat sambo.
Oh,
Yes. So it's like combat jiu-jitsu, you know, so,
Right.
or hapkido, whatever. So it would be the easiest comparison. And there is also freestyle sambo, which is an invention of my friend Steven Capper, Sambo Steve. You might know him. He was head of American Sambo Association, which is unfortunately defunct now. So what it is, it's like sports sambo. There's only grappling. There's no striking, but there is a slightly different rule set which allows twist and leg locks and different scoring system, but it's closer to regular sambo. So four major sambos, and just like with Jeet Kune Do, there is sambo concept. For example, the program I teach at Axios, they call it Sambo, but it's not true Sambo because we have no uniforms, we have no kurtkas.
Yep.
But my approach is the same as I would teach like regular Sambo. So you can say like Jeet Kune Do concepts or Sambo concepts. So it's no gi or no kurtka, but the same approach.
Now, when you say Jeet Kune Do, to me, that means, to me personally, like, you know, hybrid or
Yes, exactly.
adapting, meaning like I could take a piece of you know, if we're thinking like combatives, like think of boxing there, Muay Thai there, and I kind of start bringing it into my
Yes.
own.
You apply Jeet Kune Do concepts to different martial
Right.
arts, blend in. Same thing once you take kurtka, it could not be properly called Sambo, but the tactics, philosophies, you know,
Right.
and techniques are the same. You just have to modify your gripping, you know, so
Yeah.
you grab head and arm and legs versus jacket.
And that's I think for us, it's kind of that's why I like Bruce Lee's concept so much. Not necessarily, you know, the Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do system itself, because it's, you know, more, well, most people seem to teach it more like that Wing Chun-ish, you know, Jun Fan style. But the concept of Bruce Lee, the always adapting, evolving, finding, you know, what works for you, that everybody has their own version of Jeet Kune Do, or, you know, that's something that's always been big in my mind. That kind of fits what you and I, Sean and I, you know, we talk a lot about, is like always adapting and evolving.
We're on the constant hunt for what's useful.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing is with current competitive martial arts, regardless of what art it is, and let's talk about just grappling arts
Sure.
for a second. Once you crystallize an art to a competition form, you're bound to have restrictions, restricted techniques, restricted gripping, or like whole bunches of techniques being restricted, like
Right.
grabbing legs in judo.
Right.
So once you get to that point, you bound to be not a total badass because you restrict yourself. That's why
Yeah.
I'm all about the fusion. Like for example, I love Sambo, which is my base martial art. But let's look at rules. There's one rule. There is no chokes in Sambo, but pins are scored highly. You don't win like in judo or wrestling, but you can score 4 points, which is a huge a margin. No, if you're winning, you know,
Sure.
4 points.
Yeah.
So very often people will do anything not to get pinned, including rolling on your stomach.
Which will get choked.
Yes, exactly, and that's a perfect predicament to be choked out. So
Right.
although Sambo is awesome, but that particular thing, because of crystallized rules of rule set, is bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
And you can do the same thing with judo. Awesome art, great art, but if you don't grab the legs, why do you restrain yourself from like half of the attacks you can possibly potentially mount?
Right.
Same thing with jiu-jitsu and wrestling and so forth and so on. So that's why I'm all about the fusion. If you have this, let's talk about imaginary, non-existent combative arena, you know? So the way I take technique, I'm like, if all grappling moves allowed, will I do that or not? If I do that, it belongs to my system.
I love that philosophy. Yeah.
Yes, if it's bullshit, then it's not good. So, you know, I'm like this generic grappler, you know, like I said, my background in Sambo or whatnot, but like, if I realize the rule set, I can adapt to the rule set.
Yeah.
So whichever grappling tournament, grappling event I want to compete, I can adapt.
Now, can I ask you a quick question? Is there a reason why they took the chokes out?
I do not know.
Okay.
If you look at pre-war judo, right? Pre-World War I judo, there was leg locks. And if you look at Kodokan books, right? Textbook for Kodokan, there are leg locks, but they were taken out because they're potentially dangerous.
Well, look at why judo was originally, I mean, it came from Japanese jiu-jitsu,
Yes.
but it was meant to be watered down so people could
So
do
more
it.
people could
And
do
so
it.
more people- more- yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
And hide it as a sport almost.
So Sean, to answer your question, I do not know. I guess safety was in mind, but I don't understand. Like a limb is a limb, you know what I'm saying? You grab a neck, you grab the arm, you grab the leg. It's the same outcome. People.
Well,
Yeah.
that's funny you said that because I didn't know that, and I never would have known like from watching the videos and stuff because it looks so brutal. You know, and you're just like, oh yeah, well,
You don't
they
think about
gotta
that,
have,
choke.
they gotta have
Yeah,
chokes
yeah,
in there.
Yes,
How
yes,
could they not?
they were thinking about putting chokes in, but I guess they don't want it to be looking exactly like judo because virtually it will become judo with different
Right.
uniform or whatever. So maybe they're trying to preserve like identity or whatnot. And original Sambo, you know, when it was developed, it was like a brutal combat system. You know, includes strikes and chokes and all that stuff.
That's why I always.
But once you want to, you know, practice it safely, you gotta omit something. You know, it's still very reliable combat art, and but
I think I'd rather
it
get
has its
choked
limitations.
than some of those leg locks.
Hang on. Vicious. I know.
It's scary.
But you know, listen, I'm sorry. I still think like I like all submissions, and sometimes I like get grouped with people who leg lockers, which I do love leg locks. But dude, listen, if I see the arm, I'll grab the arm.
Right.
If I see the neck, and moreover,
Whatever's there.
I think that strangulation is the absolute king of compliance techniques. Like if you find, you know, let's talk about, and I hate doing that, you know, streets. If you find somebody on the street who's intoxicated on certain types of drugs, you can poke eyes out, you can break arms, and he can come after you. Maybe he'll regret it next day, but in the heat of the moment, he'll be still coming out. No matter how loco the guy is, if you put somebody in a proper strangle, if you cut the blood supply to oxygen, they'll go down. It's plain and simple.
Yeah.
You know. However, it brings out another funny point in competition. For example, if I get caught in leg lock or arm lock in a submission tournament of sorts, I can choose not to tap, and I can go on. How, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Which
no,
is kind
yeah,
of weird. You'll take your medical time and you'll be limping around trying to kill, you know, time on the clock, all this stuff. However, if you get caught in a strangle and decide on top, you pass out, and it's a victory. You know, it's a weird thing. You know.
Yeah.
It should be like even all the way across the board. If you break somebody's leg or arm and it's visible, you know, match should be stopped.
Yes.
And the guy declare a winner, because if you hit it on the street, he'll be like having a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's two things I wanted to kind of touch on what you said there. One was kind of the quick one is we kind of have a saying, we joke around that if you tap, it's jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like it may be, I can use whatever I want. You know what I mean? If it's a limb is there, the neck is there, sometimes even some guys like Dan will get face cranks, and it's like you tap, it's jiu-jitsu. Sometimes it's dick jiu-jitsu, but that's fighting jiu-jitsu to me. You know. And two was like that you based on you kind of think the same way I do or we do is that you have your base art. You have something that you like. That's your baby. Like jiu-jitsu. That's my base art. Also like all Japanese and Brazilian jiu-jitsu merged, but always kind of evolving yourself to look for that note. So you had a lot of experience, like the kickboxing, the boxing, the karate, all together. Then you kind of start taking those things and concepts like that's good for my student. That's good for me. That then you can start merging and creating this fusion, and you become a complete martial artist, complete badass.
Exactly.
Compared to
And the funny thing, it never stops evolving.
no. I always say, if you stop learning as a martial artist, you're not a martial artist
You're
anymore.
done.
You're
Yeah,
done.
you're done.
You're a teacher, you're something else, but you're not a martial artist anymore. If you say, that's good, I've got all I need, you're fucking missing something.
Even if you accept the fact that you're not perfect, then you constantly need to engage other martial arts in your
Yes,
system.
yeah.
You still
Finding
have
all-
the battle. You still have to drill
Yes.
it, learn
Yeah.
it, and get
Yeah.
better.
There's
You
always
need to be able to
something more.
self-analyze and say what you're weak at, and almost like if you want to be complete, you're like, what am I weak at? What am I bad at? You know what I mean? Like when I think about, we've started looking at some of the older combative systems, like I know my striking was good, my punches are good, my kicks are good, but getting to my jiu-jitsu, like how to enter in to my jiu-jitsu strategically, well, that was bad. Like I was like flailing around or doing some very basic stuff. Like how do I get to jiu-jitsu when that was that connection that I wanted to fix? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I look around and I see so many different things that are out there, especially now with YouTube. You can see all these different arts, and you're like, well, how would I fight that guy?
Yeah.
Because you can't assume that if something happened to you, if you were attacked, that other person knows nothing.
And
You have to assume. These
speaking
days, you
about,
have to assume that they know something.
Something.
So how am I going to deal with that?
Speaking about dirty jiu-jitsu, I understand the concept of pure jiu-jitsu. Like for me, guys, such a technician, man. Like,
Beautiful jiu-jitsu,
oh
absolutely
my
gorgeous.
goodness,
Yeah.
I feel like a newborn baby giraffe, you know? Like I'm a drunken sailor. However, I'm not a purist, you know? Like whatever leads to the tap, as long as it's based on principles, like
Yes.
leverage and all that. However, if you're big and strong and you can bypass certain leverage principles and just crank it up, use it, man. Like if you go to war and you have a gun and a knife, and another guy only has a knife, you're gonna put the gun away and say, let's fight, you know. Dirty fighting is tautology. In other words, it's the same as saying wet water, old grandma, or whatever. It's implied that the fighting is dirty.
I like that.
What's
wet water or old grandma?
Yeah.
I like
so
that.
saying dirty fighting is the same as saying old grandma or greasy butter. It's implied. It's a tautology, that, you know, oxymoron, if you will. It's supposed to be dirty. So if you crank face, man, fuck, listen, neck hurts. If you crank somebody's face and crank neck and he taps, God bless you. You know?
Yeah,
Do
you
not
did.
put it away.
Well, even Formiga will say this, like, you know, because I used to have, back in the day, when I first started with Formiga, I was big, I was probably bigger than I am now, but I would hold back the strength and technique and fight to, like, you know, fight the smaller or more technical purist jiu-jitsu game, whatever you want to call it. Formiga's like, man, why don't you use your strength? You earned it, you know, it's yours, use it. I'm like, oh, it was a good concept. I'm like, well, yeah, I got strong, I work for it, so why shouldn't I be able to use that during my jiu-jitsu? It's like I'm not almost using my full abilities, I'm only using half my abilities, you know?
Application of strength and pressure is a skill.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
So sweeping somebody, passing somebody's guard, and setting up a choke is a skill, and so is application of strength and force and leverage. So
Pressure's my game. That's
Yes.
it, yeah. Make you hate me. Yeah.
use all you can, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, for better development, sometimes you handicap yourself purposely
Of course.
to get better, but like
When you're working on a skill set.
Yes,
But when you have a
talking
tough
about
role,
fighting, just anything
yeah,
else.
fighting. Oh yeah. Which kind of brings us into I kind of would make a quick note. I've never seen Pete jump around so much. No, we're talking to you. You're behind the camera right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yes, I know you're
I have
throwing.
beautiful close-ups.
You're pissing Vlad off. Look
No,
at him.
listen, Pete's...
Sit the fuck down. What are you doing now?
We're talking
Dude,
about
I
different
got-
skill sets here, and Pete is tremendous at creating videos. He absolutely has
Yes,
a knack,
he is.
and you know, he captures always the essence of the conversation or technique.
Shameless
It's actually
plug
very
for
impressive.
Starbucks.
I'm making you look beautiful.
But my skill set is trying to piss Peter off. Well, going back to strength, it kind of leads us into talking about strength training for martial arts, and I'll kind of talk about why I kind of opened up this school and why I called it Jiu-Jitsu and Strength Academy, was because it's very important to me that they always interrelated. You know, when I started doing martial arts, I had done no strength, and when I was wrestling in high school, I was a weak little fuck. And when I started doing Jiu-Jitsu,
You were little?
Dude, I was about 6 foot tall, like 6'2", 145 pounds. I wrestled my senior year. 145 and 152.
Did you have a beard?
Dude, I could have grown. I had no hair. I maybe had a bald or hair or two. I maybe had a little hair in my armpits.
One or two.
Yeah, I'm like,
Late
dude,
bloomer.
I was a late bloomer. But and also the way I started doing martial arts, I don't know how, but strength training becomes something I wanted to do too. Like I saw how it related, and I think my first thing was sawing kettlebells on an old forum. Some guys were doing kettlebells. It was a new wave of exercises. Yet the Russians have been using it since like I don't know 1800s or whatever, you know, or earlier.
Since they made
but in
steel.
America, it was a new wave. I'm like, oh, that looks fucking cool. And Pavel had his book out. What was the first one he did? What a strong, whatever it was. You know, it was like a Pavel. I can't pronounce his last name. Do you know how to pronounce it?
Yes.
Can you say it?
Tatsulin.
That's it.
Pavel Tatsulin.
Yeah, so and I was like, well, that's really cool, and here's some martial arts, how it all related, and I think that was my kicking off to it, but it instantly became a tool that made my jiu-jitsu better, and I started loving them both, not equally, definitely jiu-jitsu a little bit more, but it gave me an extra edge, it gave me something else, and I saw how it related, and then when I started getting better strength training and improving my strength on the mat, I felt I was a different person, and then especially when I started at the strongman training years later, that I've said many times that completely changed how we're talking about pressure. I think the strongman understanding how to move, control, and be a beast, and like control large objects like stones, logs, yokes, whatever. That on the mat became the same.
Some people, a very good, interesting point. I have a few philosophies, a few thoughts I'd like to share. some people think that technical training is the king. Of course, technical training is super important. But now let's talk about people that are, let's say, equally technical. You know, they met each other's match as far as technical ability. So what will become a deciding factor? It could be strength.
Strength.
So technique is a synchronized energy of your entire body against weak position. Okay.
I like
So yes. So you know, it's a synergized effort against weak position. How do we get somebody in weak position? If he sucks, hopefully you can capitalize on his on him being green and being mistakes. However, if he's good and he's moving well, you have to move him and set him up out of position. Do kazushi, some kind of balancing techniques. How do you do that? By Jedi tricks, like. No, you have to grab that motherfucker, right?
Yeah, grab.
And you have to pull him, you know, yank him,
Yep.
push him in a direction, offset his balance. What do you use if you yank and pulling somebody or throwing punches, making him, you know, cut funny angles?
Power,
you,
strength.
You use force and
Yeah.
cardio, so it's very simple, you know. So
Yeah.
you absolutely, of course, you know, don't overemphasize. Like for example, my physical training is addition to my wrestling, my grappling or whatnot. For some people, like CrossFitters, which I have nothing to say against, it becomes a lifestyle and they exercise for the sake of exercising.
Right.
I exercise for the sake of being better on the mat, so that's my
Yeah.
thing. I never, so although it's a tool, but I always know that my goal is drilling technique, always.
Yes.
But like, you know, previous concept, if you go to war and you can bring AK, gun and a knife, bring all that shit, you know? Don't just bring, you know, a gun.
Yeah. That's all we need right now.
So yeah, and moreover, like, you know, being manly badass is never out of style, man. You know, when a man is manly, when he can work with his hands, lift heavy objects, it's fucking cool, man. You know, so even if I never did any combat sports, I'll be doing some kind of lifting, you know. So it's just like
Part of being a warrior.
I do not exactly.
Absolutely.
It's part of being a warrior. I do not see myself like any otherwise, you know.
I my vision for myself is the same thing, and for me, I loved the strongman sport for a long time. So I will go back and forth for a while. I focus. I still always keep both of them going, but let's say I spend 4 or 5 days on the mat and maybe, like, you know, 1 or 2 days in the gym, and then reverse it. You know, then I do a lot of heavy training, do the strongman training, a couple days on the mat to keep my techniques, you know, sharp, whatever. But I went back and forth with focuses. But they're always, you had to really choose one that supports the other one. You know what I mean? And then now it's definitely like the strength training, especially Justin's like new Warrior Strong program. Shameless plug there. But that it does, and especially for all our athletes, you can see it helps them tremendously on the mat.
Absolutely.
Because you know, you think about it's a type of exercise and the stuff you do. You gotta do manly fucking exercise. You can't be like, it can't be a bicep and bench day and expect to now see improvement on the mat. You gotta be doing like real fucking shit.
That's what the odd
you know?
object stuff is
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
'cause it's unwieldy, not like a balanced barbell or anything like that.
So yes,
you know?
if you compete at high level, and I know there are some genetic freaks or like
Absolutely.
Marcelo or Cartier or whatever, but they are the exceptions, which in essence kind of fortifies the general rule that you have to, if you compete or whatever, you have to design, you have to sharpen all your tools, not just
Right.
technical ability, but your strength and conditioning.
Well, let's talk about, you know, Marcel and Kyle, and you know, not necessarily Formiga, but those guys are littler. I mean, we had Kyle here for a seminar, and you know, great seminar, but he's a little dude, you know, and little dudes have great little games. You know what I
Yes.
mean? When you fight those guys, they're hard to like, fuck, you know, especially in jiu-jitsu. Now, you're talking about combatives, well, that's a lot different. You know what I mean? Size and strength, and now
Yes.
is going to have the problem. But if what we were playing that, you know, rule set, those little guys, and that's what they're playing. They're playing a rule set of jiu-jitsu. Those little guys move like little fuckers, fucking all over the place. But they've really refined their technique to be a really good little guy grappler.
Yeah, just like Joe Rogan said, if you want to learn jiu-jitsu, learn from a smaller guy.
Yeah, they do have the best, beautiful jiu-jitsu.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
I still enjoy lifting shit up.
I get. I'm dealing with a groin injury right now that I've been fucking telling everybody about because it's driving me nuts. But it's limiting me so much about what I can do. I can't do any of the exercises I really want to do. I love doing like the strongman stuff. I'm completely limited of that. Can't get on the mat, but it starts messing with your mind when you can't lift heavy shit and fight people.
Well, you know, that's the thing in combat sports. No matter how safe you are, you will encounter some kind of injury, and it's usually some weird freak thing, and we just learn to work around it.
Work
you know?
around it and adapt.
If you rest, you rust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you, what is it, define, because I've heard this term before, I loosely know what it is, master of sport.
Okay.
Are you master of sport, Sambo? Yeah. So, from my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, and I want to hear your perspective as well, is that that is like you almost have a doctorate degree in...
To a degree, yes.
Badass almost.
There are 3 degrees of mastery in Sambo, or any sport in Russia actually. Combat sport, or chess, or fishing, or hiking, or whatever.
Yeah.
To become a master of sport, yeah, believe it or not. Yes.
Really?
Well, it's called tourism and hiking.
Okay.
Yes, the sport. In order to become master of sport, you must win or place in 2 national events.
Okay.
Yes, or 3. I forgot the exact criteria, but it's something along the same nature. Then the next step is master of sport of international categories. So in Russia, you should be placing or winning in 2 European championships or Asian championships, because Russia is partially in Asia, partially in Africa. And then merited master of sport, which is the pinnacle of mastery, is somebody who won a place either in Worlds or Olympic Games.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And like I said, it's applicable to any sport. Of course, Asian martial arts still, grant their belts or whatever. But if you want to compete like in judo on national level in Russia, you'll still be granted master of sport as well as your black belt,
Black belt, right.
or degree of black belt.
Now, there's no belt systems in Sambo.
No.
Yeah. So how does one progress through Sambo? I mean, how do you know when someone is worthy of? Is there some sort? Is Master Sword being okay? He's now black belt level. How do you you're doing competitions? How do you guys pair each other up? Is there?
The only way to get ranked in Sambo is to compete. And in order to get ranked, because there's degree and gradations like Qs in judo prior to master of sport.
Yeah.
Yes. So in order to get progress, you must compete against certain level of opposition too, and win. Not just compete. You have to compete with your peers of your skill level and win. So in other words, if I want to become a national champion, I have to go through hell of preparation and variety of little tournaments. Like your city tournament, your regional tournament, and all that stuff. And so like in Jiu-Jitsu, you can come and compete as a white, green, white, blue, purple, or brown belt. No such in Sambo. There is no multiple skill level tournaments within one tournament. So if you compete, just like in wrestling, most likely you're going to encounter people of same skill set, more or less.
Yeah.
Then if you beat them, like certain amount of them, then you get progressed and so forth and so on.
So got it.
So once you got to national level, it means that you deserve it. It's not just because you chose to compete in no few worlds at purple belt.
Right.
Just like wrestling. Compete and win.
No, in Sambo they use the same, they use the judo terms, they use the Japanese names,
No.
or they have their own?
No, yes, we have our own terminology in Sambo, and very often, especially in older Soviet days for judo, they were calling judo names Sambo names. Yeah, but some purists now switching to traditional Japanese naming of techniques.
Do you find there's a lot of similar, like Uchimata? Is it Uchimata also in Sambo, but it's called something different?
Yes, we have Uchimata in Sambo. Obviously, it's one of my favorite throws, actually.
That's why I brought it up.
And yes,
I watched the video many times.
Yeah, it's
I watched your video
it's
many times.
beautiful Uchimata.
I learned a lot from watching your video.
Yeah, guys, if you Google, I think you're at Palladino's school, the evolution, is it on his page or your YouTube channel?
I think it's on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think if you go to EVOLBJJ on YouTube, or look up Vlad's name on YouTube for Uchimata. He does a great demonstration of the Uchimata throw.
Really good video.
And it's actually one of my favorite Uchimata throw videos, and I've watched a lot of them.
Thank you. Yes, Uchimata is called Padkhvat actually in Sambo. And sometimes like
I'll stick with Uchimata.
Yeah. What are other some of your favorite techniques, or we'll get into Matt. We'll do some later, but kind of what are some of your favorite throws and techniques that you do?
I'm actually consider myself a generalist. Like in other words, often if you dissect somebody's game, competitive game, they learn a couple techniques and become so freaking adept that they can hit this move from multitude of angles with a multitude of setups. I do have my tokuwaza, my favorite techniques, but generally I'm not a specialist. I'm a generalist. I like anything over the hip. I like hip toss. I like haragoshi. I like uchimata. I like a lot of tripping. Ouchigari, sasai, and yashibarai would be my thing. I do like close grappling. I have decent suplex. I have a teguruma lateral evolution, and I do like sacrifice techniques. I like yoko tomanage and I like sumigaeshi. So I go to a variety of techniques.
Very good. Yeah. What are yours? I always never asked you. What do you like?
I like Uchimata. I think the problem with the judo, like the way that I learned it all these years, was like closing that gap. Like there was always that distance. Then when I watched your video and getting in and getting that
Overhook. That's why
I was just like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is fucking sweet now.
That's my favorite.
Just one style of Uchimata. Even it isn't funny. Like even if you take one throw, there's like core principles and movement patterns that you must apply. But yet you still can apply different footwork, different setups, and different gripping.
Yeah. And that's what when I watch a lot of students, because we obviously do a ton of throwing in my class, and a lot of students get very stuck with one concept of doing it. Like I use Uchimata, or either the body lock version or the overhook version, and they get so caught up in maybe only one that they don't even think about trying to set up other things. Even though we try to give them other ideas, but they don't really experiment too much. And for me, throwing or any martial arts or jiu-jitsu technique is that I need to experiment and make a lot of mistakes first, fuck up a lot, and then all of a sudden things start clicking.
That's how lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And the only thing Uchimata, in my experience, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not the best Uchimata specialist, but I still find it height reliant. In other words, if I grapple somebody like significantly taller than me, there's no way I'm going to get under. Like flexibility is going to come to equation and all that stuff. So
too much leg to move.
Yes. But if I play or wrestle somebody my height or shorter, then Uchimata is absolutely one of my throws to go to.
Right.
Sometimes people ask me about difference in training and attitude in Russia versus any other country inside the country. And when it comes to adults, it's pretty much the same. There's research and development, Olympic centers, and I would say it's pretty much the same in my view. However, as a child, I started to train as a child, which is the best thing ever. For example, learning throws as an adult is hard.
Yeah.
People get so intimidated. So I got lucky. I grew up throwing, so I think nothing about being thrown or throwing somebody, even on a harder surface. So anyway, the attitude towards any sports, including combat sports in Russia, even as a kid, is super professional. When I was growing up, things were free. In socialist country, we trained for absolutely free. So my coach did not have to worry about kissing my ass and pleasing my parents because I'm ADD or whatever. If you did not want to train, bye, see you later.
Yeah.
Yes. So there was very natural weed out process. As soon as we got to train, we started to compete right away. So the attitude towards training was very professional, very serious, and completely non-recreational. I don't know, I haven't lived in Russia in 20 years, so I don't know how it is now, because things change. But then when I was a kid, I was very serious. And moreover, coaches' salaries, coaches' wages depended on how many champions he raised. So the more champion he raised of higher caliber, the more he got paid. Wow. And coaches also get ranked. There's rank for coaches. So there is a direct correlation.
Based on how the students do.
Yes. So there is a direct correlation between my performance and coaches' well-being financial.
Wow.
So yes, as kids, like I said, we started training right off the bat, super seriously. And if you didn't want to train, you just get out. So
that's so different than American martial arts, especially if you look at right now.
Yes.
The American martial arts. I'm not gonna make fun of certain martial arts styles, but if you look at some modern martial arts schools right now that cater towards kids, and it has the idea of competing, sparring, throwing, possibly hurting or not pleasing the parent, not handing out the belt on time, it's completely different from that. Because the business owner has to really please the parents.
Which is unfortunately completely understandable. If you're in the martial arts industry, of course you're there mostly because of love. But then once you decide to make it your profession, your occupation, you have to make money to feed your family.
No, I believe so. I understand that. At the same point, it's I don't believe in watering down. So we hear I've never watered down what we do, and I say I jokingly, not joking, but seriously say it's a privilege to train here. If you don't want to train here, it's okay. What I mean? We're not going to change our curriculum, our approach, our aggressiveness, our toughness, whatever, because we have some new one come in, and they might not be able to handle that. I think that's completely different than the martial arts, most martial arts systems now, or schools this day and age. But that's our philosophy, because I want to make sure that we have the best students and offer the best training. But we do well with that, But I think that's a rarity, because I read a lot of the business magazines in the martial arts world. It's all about fitness, gradings, belts, and this, and parent days. Like, oh my god.
That stuff's just that they water it down because those magazines and a lot of those schools they're out for
The money.
For the
Yeah.
money. It's probably why we're broke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a choice you have to make.
Yeah, it is a choice you have to make.
Yeah, unfortunately, Taekwondo is a great art, Of course, there's limitations,
Right.
Because of competitive aspect or whatever. But generally, it's a great art. But like, it just became so that unfortunately, Taekwondo represents that model that you said,
Yeah.
It's so damn popular, and like everybody trains, but not everybody can be great. But yet we have to promote people and charge
6-year-old
them.
black belts.
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't get me started.
I want to get you started.
I'm not gonna say. We had a parent walk in. The kid was 8 years old. Say he's a second-degree black belt now. He's testing for his third. I don't know if I want to have him go for another one or start doing another martial art. I'm like, second-degree black belt, 8 years old. And
Okay.
I don't want to say anything
pretty
negative.
good.
It was like, who the.
When
Yeah,
did you start?
yeah.
Like -10?
Yeah.
And I said it was like, well, listen, I said you're in BJ, you're not. It's like we don't do that here. You usually take a long time to get a rank.
Black belt means that you're capable of defending yourself on the street. 8-year-old is not capable of defending himself on the street unless it's another 8-year-old. So it's my job. It's my job as a parent to protect him. So don't you worry about belts, okay?
Yeah.
So I think a little kid should not be learning freaking knife disarms. To be honest with you, because kids of that age do not have concept of death as we
I said
do,
they don't understand that
and they
yet.
do not understand the magnitude and how scary real knife attack is. So by learning these bullshit freaking techniques, they engrave in themselves false sense of confidence, which is very hard to weed out. I'd rather
Right.
be
Yep.
scared to death and freaking scream for mom and dad or run like hell, as opposed to, oh, I'm a black belt, let me take
Right,
care of this
right.
guy with a knife,
The worst when you
So-
see the adults the same way. They have this false sense of confidence because they achieved some sort of
Yes.
whatever.
But
Yeah.
with kids especially, so child should not have a black belt because he or she cannot defend themselves in real life. It's their parents' job. Once they hit 15, 16 and older, then maybe yes.
Yes, and with a lot of years of experience behind that.
So that
Yeah.
doesn't happen in Russia, I assume, right?
Once again, I don't know. I hope not.
Okay.
Generally, I follow on Facebook a couple of my old school friends, and and some people do Taekwondo, and it takes forever to get to yellow belt or whatever. So I'm hoping that model of earning your shit is still there.
That's an important concept. Earning your shit.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, you got
Earn it.
Earn it. If you,
You
don't
can't own it unless you earn it. And then another question I would like to address, it's all about the fusion, how I said. So people ask me how Jiu-Jitsu can benefit from Sambo, and it's very simple.
By
I think somebody who practices Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu. Yes.
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah.
I've heard Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu. Yes, that's the only thing. Yes.
So
So.
I have said that sounds Spanish,
I never learned that.
Portuguese.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
Yeah.
no worries. And people say that judo is the best supplement for jiu-jitsu, which I disagree. Especially having current rule set for judo. Currently in judo you cannot grab legs. Once and in Sambo you can grab legs. So why would I restrict myself? Why would I engage myself in an art that only allows certain techniques to get better in other arts? So in Sambo we have all funky gripping that judo is restricting, and also you can grab the lower body. So that alone by itself is logically a better supplement to jiu-jitsu versus judo.
Right.
And moreover, judo and jiu-jitsu groundwork is virtually identical.
Right.
Less
guard.
Yes, less guard, but it's the same chokes and arm locks allowed.
Right.
In Sambo, we have that plus leg locks.
Right.
So that this is yet another tool you can get in your arsenal. So I think currently, Sambo would be better supplement to jiu-jitsu with the gi versus judo. And as far as no gi, I think wrestling, because if you want to learn certain models of behavior, reactions to no-gi techniques, where do? You go to somebody for cues who's been doing it for a long time. So if you look at Greco guys and freestyle and scholastic, they've been doing this type of movement and this type of head numb, leg control, body control for ages.
Yeah, we
So
get good
jiu-jitsu,
wrestlers, yeah.
before you get to submission, you have to exhibit control. And where do? You go to wrestling, man, because they've been doing it for way more longer. So you learn how to wrestle, learn control handles, and then add your jiu-jitsu on top of that. That's my view. So I think
I
for
think so,
no-gi,
yeah.
the best supplement would be to jiu-jitsu, to no-gi jiu-jitsu. to sub-grappling would be wrestling, one of the style of wrestling. Scholastic or freestyle probably would be the best.
Yeah, we see a lot of the guys who have wrestling background. We have this kid right now, Josh Fontanez. He's one of the he's I think a D2 wrestler right now in college, and he's been doing now gi training, and you can see how that wrestling has helped him out so much. Especially kind of you watch like modern wrestling now, they're doing a lot more scrambling and funk.
Yeah, his movement is spectacular.
And you watch the funk wrestling, and it's like it's basically jiu-jitsu, but they learn how to move around the body. They don't have really a semblance of guard, but they know how to move really well.
And tools, it's funny because objectives in no-gi jiu-jitsu versus gi jiu-jitsu is exactly the same, but the way you go about it is so different.
All different.
Just very much like judo and let's say Greco, they share a few common objectives. You want to lift somebody in the air in a spectacular fashion, slam them and pin them. But the way you go about it is different, And you don't see generally judo guy training without the gi or Greco guys putting the gi on,
Right.
It's just two different animals.
One more question. So I said before in the beginning of this, I've always been very impressed by Sambo, but there's not really a lot of resources around for Sambo training besides you. And that's too bad, because I think if people saw that more around here, I think it would be, if people were looking to supplement something, it would definitely be a Sambo compared to, I knew I would, if I was going to look to add something else to my system or my way of fighting, it'd be Sambo. That'd be the next choice.
There are some great Sambis, fantastic, spectacular Sambis, mostly from former Soviet republics or whatnot, and some American guys, placed in, like my friend Riley Bodycom just recently won Pan Ams in Sambo. So there is like homegrown Sambis or whatnot. But like if we're talking about top echelon, top-notch Sambis from Brooklyn, they usually not good coaches or don't speak English, or as opposed to me, cannot like related to jiu-jitsu people, So so that's when my niche comes in, because I've been teaching in English for quite some time, so I can I can relate like conventional Sambo concepts to anybody, and I can blend them in with a different grappling art. So that's why I see my strength as a coach and as a assembler, so to speak.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of lead into doing some techniques on the mat, because I like to do that. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts or questions about, or any ideas about today, but that was.
Well, I thought it was
I'm going to be
great
Mookie.
thing.
Yeah, you're gonna take some of Vlad's
Again,
throws.
all the videos, I'm the guy getting thrown around.
That's what you
right.
love.
Except for the ones, except for the ones
Except
where
for
you're throwing
I'm
me.
throwing him.
Yeah.
All right.
Jiu-Jitsu versus strongman. Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning in to today's Warrior episode number 5 and our special guest Vlad. Last name again?
Koulikov.
We'll spell it out on the bottom so you guys can search him, and I really do recommend doing that. Thank you for checking out. Please go to youtube.com/soulfightersacademy, facebook.com/soulfightersacademy, and then you can also see our new training portal at soulfighterstraining.com. Thank you guys very much for checking it out, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Nice, it's a wrap.